Hey guys, this is John. I want to show you a funny game I played in 2002 where I unknowingly broke the castling rule. And the impetus for this video was an article I saw the other day on ChessBase India. Shout out to ChessBase India, great site. They also have a YouTube channel. You guys should check them out. And the article is called "The Castling Rule Was Broken, but No One Noticed." And it has to do with the game played recently at the European Women's Individual Championship between WIM Maria Gevorgian and IM de Montecornet. And it was a game where white played a move, rook from A1 to B1 here on move 14. And then a couple moves later, the rook was attacked by a bishop on F5, and she moved it right back to A1. And then the game continued for a few more moves, and we get to the position after move 23, queen d7 from black, which is this diagram right here. So at this point, black has a queen-rook battery attacking d2, and white, probably very naturally, thought, castling queenside is a really good defense to this. I can secure my king, and I can get my rook to d1 and guard the d2 pawn. So that's what she played. And even though that move was illegal, because white had moved the rook from a1 to b1 by the laws of chess, if you've moved a rook on the side of the board where you're trying to castle, you can no longer castle that direction, or if you moved your king, of course, or other things like you're castling into, out of, or through check, that's not going to fly either. But yeah, by the laws of chess, that move was illegal. But unfortunately for Cornet, she did not notice. And the game continued, and white ended up winning. So I recommend you read this article. It's just kind of a funny and somewhat tragic incident if you're the player playing black in this game. Because especially tragic because since white presumably touched the king first when she was castling, she would have to move the king had black called her on that illegal move. And since e2 and f1 are taken away by the bishop on c4, king d1 would be forced, and black would checkmate with queen takes d2. So an entire point swing there because white successfully played the illegal move, albeit unknowingly. I saw there was a thread on Reddit, and a couple people were speculating as to whether white castled knowing that it was illegal, and I think that's frankly ridiculous because I have experience with this myself, for one thing, which is the game I'm going to show you guys. So this was played in 2002. I was 15 years old. This was at the Minnesota State Close Championship. It's our annual state tournament to decide the champion of Minnesota. And I was playing a friend of mine, Victor Feldberg. He is, I think, a year older than me. And at the time, he was rated 21 to 42 USCF. That's United States Chess Federation rating. And I was 2246. So Vic opened with d4. I played knight f6, and he played bishop g5. This is the Trompowsky attack. This is one of Vic's favorite openings. Actually, I think definitely his favorite opening. He played this invariably when he was white. We had several games in this line. And I played knight e4, which is one of the strongest replies, attacking the bishop. And he played this move, h4. It's also possible for white to just move the bishop back here, bishop h4 or bishop f4, but he plays this kind of quirky move, h4, defending the bishop. I played c5, he played d5, and then I prepare a fianchetto of the bishop here to the long diagonal, looking to attack the pawn on b2. And now Vic plays queen d3. By the way, I dug out the score sheet for this. This is actually a copy of the original score sheet. I don't know how well the coloring shows up, but it's yellow. And there is a moment about halfway through this game where things get a little blurry. It was hard to make out exactly what move was played, but I did my best. So, yeah, as soon as I saw that ChessBase India article, I'm like, I got to dig this game out. And I have a full box of score sheets, actually. I've actually done a really good job of keeping records of my score sheets. So that entire box is filled with score sheets from tournament games I've played over the years. I should also mention the time control of this tournament, or this game rather. It was 40 moves in 2 hours, and then all the rest of moves in 1 hour. And that's for each player, by the way. So you get 2 hours to make 40 moves, and if the game is still going, each player gets an additional hour. So very long games are possible with the time control like that. So Vic played this queen d3 move, attacking my knight on e4. I took on g5. And now he played queen c3. And those of you who play the Trompowsky will undoubtedly know this player, but the English Grandmaster Julian Hodgson is kind of the godfather of the Trompowsky attack. And I looked this position up in the database just out of curiosity, And he has played this move, queen c3, 4 times. So hits the rook on h8. And I played rook g8. So already you can kind of see where this is going, right? Like the parallels with that article. So rook g8 defending against the threat of queen takes h8. There's also a game I saw between Hodgson and John Nunn, where Nunn played f6 here, which also looks pretty good. H takes g5 and maybe just bishop g7 at this point. And I feel like this bishop eventually is going to have a strong say on the long diagonal. But I preferred rook g8 in the game. Vic took, and then I played bishop g7, so this is the main reason for rook g8. Get the bishop here with tempo attacking the queen. Vic played queen a3, keeping an eye on b2. And now I played the rook back to h8. So defending the pawn since rook takes h7 was now a threat. And this is the main idea of that h4 move that white played on move 3. And now e4. I played d6, kind of getting into a Benoni type structure. Knight f3, knight a6. This looks like a quirky development move, but the idea is to play the knight back to c7, and I don't obstruct the light square bishop in the process, and I can perhaps play b5 later. So white played c3, which is a logical move. It blocks this bishop from attacking b2. Although I ran this position through the engine, and Stockfish was a lot more excited about knight bd2, looking to play knight c4 and also castle, maybe even try to play e5, play in the center. So instead, c3, I did play the knight back to c7. Vic played queen b3. And now here, probably the reason you clicked on this video, and the title obviously alludes to it. So at this point, I decided, much like Gevorgian did in that other game, castling looks pretty good here. Get my king to safety. Even though white has this rook bearing down on the h7 pawn, I think I was especially encouraged to castle because white's queen is pretty obstructed from getting over to the h-file to help out in the attack, especially with this move having been played. So I thought castle, and then I can start playing in the center or on the queen side, maybe e6 or b5. So I played that move. I would play it here, but I can't. It's not possible to do that without editing the position. And Vic immediately called me on it. So he noticed immediately that that move was illegal. And he did it in a very nice way, I must say. He just kind of looked at me and was like, you can't play that. I don't even think he said it was illegal. I think he just said, you can't play that. You already moved your rook. And then it immediately hit me like, oh, yes, I did. I had moved the rook to g8 and then moved it back to h8 and completely forgot about that. Now, the next thing that goes through your mind in that situation is, okay, I have to move my king. I touch my king. What are my options? And am I going to lose immediately? Well, I only have 2 legal moves with the king. Of course, I'm not going to play king d7. That looks downright ridiculous. But fortunately for me, king f8 is still a very good move. And actually, when I ran this through Stockfish actually likes king f8 more than it does castling. So I got very fortunate here that king f8 is actually a decent move for black, and I think the engine was giving black a slight pull in this position. So yeah, it helps to secure the king. I still get to keep my rook here, which looks kind of bad coordination-wise, and oftentimes is. But as you'll see in the game, I end up playing h6 and liberating the rook. So the game continues. I don't think there was a time penalty or anything. Maybe he got 2 minutes on the clock. I don't believe so, though. I think it's just I had to play a king move. So knight bd2, and I did play this h6 move. Have an improvise. Vic played bishop d3. I took on g5. Now the rooks are in opposition here, so we swapped rooks. He played knight takes g5. And now I got in this nice e6 move, which is also, in addition to attacking the center, a discovery on the knight on g5. So queen takes g5 is a threat. Vic played knight df3. We traded pawns on d5, and I played bishop f6, hitting the knights. He gave a check on h7. I played king g7. Knight takes f6. Queen takes f6. And now he castled queenside, which, fortunately for him, is legal. He hasn't moved his king or his rook yet. And now here, I really like my next move. I was probably eager to start my play on the queen side. I know I haven't developed this yet, but it is performing a useful function right now, stopping queen takes b7. But I played the move b5. Definitely the strongest move because c4 is a big threat, forking the queen and the bishop. And if bishop takes b5, I can play rook b8, pinning this bishop. I have a6 on the way if white defends it. That's going to cost white material. So b5, nice way to jumpstart the initiative. So Vic backed off here. He played queen to c2. And now I develop my bishop, bishop g4, attacking the knight on f3 twice. He played bishop e2. And I got this remaining piece in the game that hasn't been participating yet, rook e8. Now he played queen d2. Taking a look at the h6 square, possibly with rook h1 in mind, trying to use the h-file. And at this point, as I mentioned, the score sheet does get a little bit blurry. Where did I put the score sheet? I can't tell if I played something on the queen side here or a rook move, and I'm pretty sure I played a rook move. So I think I played rook h8 at this point, which, knowing my own play, I think makes sense because I always try to be aware of what my opponents are doing, and I think sometimes to my detriment, I overestimate my opponent's threats, but this appears to be a decent move, occupying the h-file, stopping rook h1. And now queen e3. And here, I think I probably played rook h5. Again, it's a little bit unclear if I played rook h5 or b4, but we'll continue forward here. Rook h5, queen e4. Decent move to attack the bishop and also defend d5 twice, which was under attack by my knight and my rook. Bishop d7, so moving the attacked bishop back. And knight d2. And now another moment where I'm not completely sure what was played, but I think I probably have reconstructed it properly. The score sheet seems to indicate that I played b4 here. But looking back on this is definitely not a move I would play nowadays. This looks like a bad bluff if I was trying to bluff. Because white is attacking my rook on h5. So nowadays, I'm pretty sure I would have played either rook h8, just retreating the rook, or maybe just stronger, rook e5, attacking the queen and also the bishop here. Or maybe just rook takes d5. I don't see why I can't play this move either. But b4, perhaps there was some time pressure coming up here. And Vic did not take this rook on h5, if that was possible, because the next move on the score sheet is c4 for white. But now I start to generate quite a bit of play on this long diagonal. But instead, though, if bishop takes h5, if my idea was to take here as an in-between move, I think it's basically a bluff. Even if white just takes back, let's say, take on c3, I can take c3 with check, queen c2. I don't think this is much for black. I could check here, I suppose, but I think even just knight a1 at this point is fine, because queen c3 check, trading the queens, is always in the air. So I don't have time for something like bishop f5. This is going to trade the queens, and same thing if I get the material back. White can always do this, and white's going to be up in exchange at the end. So it seems, though, that this bluff paid off because white played c4. And now I played rook h4, hitting the queen. Queen e3. And now I enlisted the help of the a-pawn. So I must have been liking my queen on f6, and I thought, all right, let's play a4, a3, try to further open up this long diagonal leaning towards the king. g3, attacking the rook. Rook h8. Knight e4. This knight springs to life, attacking the queen and also the pawn on d6. Queen e5. And now I think here, white should probably play queen e4, or sorry, queen f4, to try to trade queens and attack this pawn on d6. So even though white would have to accept double isolated pawns, this appears to be the way to go, looking to attack that. And also, importantly, get the queens off the board and kind of secure his king. But Vic played queen f3, maybe in preparation for, abandoning the e-file if I play rook e8. That was probably the reason for that move. But I just continued a4. And now bishop d3 and a3. Prying open the diagonal. And now Vic played queen e2. And black to move here. If you want to find the strongest move for black, feel free to pause your video. All right, so I can utilize a deflection idea here. I played bishop g4, trying to draw the queen away from guarding the b2 square and skewering the queen and the rook. And that was decisive. The game did not last too much longer. He played f4 here, trying to counterattack my queen. And I played queen takes b2 check, forcing the trade. But here, if white takes, he would lose the entire rook on d1. So he played king c2. I took on d1 with check. He took back. I played rook h1 check, king d2. And now the final move of the game, this is move 39. My score sheet says I played knight e8 and white resigned. And this is the move that makes me think that I actually did play b4 somewhere. I was trying to reconstruct it, and maybe in some situations I was leaving the pawn on b5, but I'm pretty sure the pawn was not on b5, because had it been, and there was tension here, I'm pretty sure I would have just queened in this situation rather than play knight e8 to defend this pawn, because now the pawn is promoting, and there's nothing that white can do about it. It'll cost him a piece. So white hung it up. So just a funny moment in my chess career that I wanted to share with you guys. Castling illegally, unknowingly, and not losing the game as a result, even though my opponent called me on it. So those sort of things happen, and just because you're a good player doesn't mean you're immune to that. We all have mental lapses and things that, looking back on it, are pretty funny, but I'm sure I wasn't really happy about having made that mistake during the actual game. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I've been uploading a lot this week, so just wanted to keep it a little more lighthearted. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back again soon with another video. Bye, guys.